Now, today we'll be looking back to moments that have defined the past half-decade here in the Middle East and beyond, how trends have shifted or stayed the same, and we'll look at the perspectives that have shaped our worldview as major events have unfolded. But first, let's bring the microscope in and look up close at how the channel itself has evolved. Take a look.
Crazy as a dog. Wish I could last as long as the gods. Wish I could be perfectly free. Wish I was a creep. Wish I made you bleed. And it's a beautiful age.
And joining me in studio are three very familiar faces. You might have caught a glimpse of them before, who have been at the channel since the very beginning. Host of The Rundown, Nurit Ben, i24NEWS desk anchor Jonathan Regev, and diplomatic correspondent Ellie Ockenberg. Guys, let's take a trip down memory lane.
We just did. What a video.
Right? All right, we'll start with you. Of course, it's been a journey for all of you, but just take us back to that moment.
Yeah.
We saw a bit of it in that clip there of coming up into the building for the first time.
Well, I have to say, looking at those images and seeing that sort of sped-up version of the studios being built, that is really how I remember it. And it feels like it was not 5 years ago. I mean, I really remember that well. We had been working for weeks. I'm sure Jonathan can remember that very clearly, at a sort of Tel Aviv basement with our laptops on the floor, waiting for these studios to be built, preparing what this network was going to be. And I remember that first time we walked up, there were men in hard hats all around. I mean, it was a construction site for all intents and purposes, but part of what was so incredible about it is that we saw for the first time how those studios were lined up. The studio we're in right now in English, right next to the studio in French, right next to the studio in Arabic. And that was really the identity that was laid out from the beginning, was all of these channels all working together side by side throughout.
And what's it been like building a channel from scratch?
It's very interesting, because we came in here that day that Nurit said, and it was literally a construction site, nothing, not even close to this. And then they tell you, yeah, in about a month we'll be broadcasting out of here. What?
And then you laugh a little bit.
Out of here? This is where we will be broadcasting from? And many of us left jobs at Israeli channels to join this very interesting project. And you start thinking, I left something to come to this construction site, and they're telling me in a month we'll be broadcasting out of here. And eventually, to the world, in 3 different languages. Eventually we did. I don't know how, but we did.
Because the channel broadcasts in French and Arabic, including English. But Nurit, first of all, talk us through some of the defining moments that really put i24NEWS on the map.
There were many of them, but since we're right here in the Middle East, and the essence was to tell the story of what's happening in the Middle East to the world, I have to say probably one of the biggest ones, which I know you both can remember well, was Operation Protective Edge, the war between Israel and Hamas in the summer of 2014, which these days many of us are remembering a lot given the current tension there. And it was a situation where you have journalists, Muslim, Jews, Christians, Druze, everybody working together side by side, and people who are directly impacted, because whether you like it or not, we lived here, and there were Israelis who lost people they knew. There were many people on the Arabic desk who lost people they knew in Gaza. And then every day we show up to work, we all take part in an editorial meeting together, planning that day, which was, of course, all about the war. And, you know, it was a defining moment in really proving why this is such a great idea to have those perspectives together, and that you can do it.
Right, and only 1 year after the channel launched. Now, Ellie, you specifically are on a very complex beat. You're our diplomatic correspondent. Now, we all know Israeli politics is no walk in the park. There's drama every day. Talk us through just some of the defining moments over the past 5 years that you've covered.
Well, personally speaking, then this is the reason why I came here, and I'm still here and will continue to be here. As an Israeli, there's this notion or sentiment that international media or the international community misinterprets what's going on here. So to be able to be part of a place that consists of people who are from here. I'm 100% Israeli. When I talk about Israeli politics, I know what I'm talking about because this is what I know. I know nothing else but that. So to be able to be part of that, and not just regarding Israel, in the broader sense of portraying a different image of the Middle East from people who are from here, is a great privilege. Politically speaking, not much has changed. 5 years ago, it was all about Benjamin Netanyahu. 5 years later, we're still talking about Benjamin Netanyahu.
Right.
Let it be his fight with the American administration under the Obama reign or his close friendship with the Trump administration.
That's
now.
a big change, though.
Yes, indeed. But again, it was also always him. Also in Israeli politics. No one from the left to challenge him, no one from the right to challenge him. And I think that this is perhaps the greatest achievement of Benjamin Netanyahu. You know, before Trump, before fake news, before the personalization of politics, he was there and still is. Indictments, investigations, political instability. The discourse always revolves around him, and I think that this is perhaps the key element in his success.
Now, while I24 News broadcasts internationally, here we are based in Israel. Now we have studios all around the world. We continue to expand around the world, but this is against a backdrop of a very changing and shrinking media industry in Israel, Jonathan.
Exactly, because I24 News is here and growing, and that by itself is a success, because if we look just at the last year of what happened to the Israeli television industry, we had Israel's public channel that broadcasted for nearly 50 years. That closed. Another public channel opened, still looking for its identity, not exactly clear. Let's look at Channel 2, Israel's biggest private channel that does not exist anymore because it was made up of two different franchises which broke apart to two different channels. One of them is so unsuccessful that it is actually looking to merge with the existing private channel. And each of those moves means that people lose their jobs. That's the sad thing about that. Hundreds of people working in Israeli television have lost their jobs just in the last year because of all these changes. So the fact that this place is still around and still people coming in, that by itself is a success because the world outside, unfortunately, is not very happy.
Sadly, a trend worldwide.
Yeah. But it's important to mention that we're not even here to compete with that very bleak media landscape that you just laid out. I mean, we are here to be what we've been since day one, which is the first and only independent network broadcasting in English, Arabic, and French from here in the Middle East. And that is a huge thing when, as we see every day, the Middle East, what happens here has real impact on Washington and beyond that.
Sure. Now, the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, something we talk about almost on a daily basis here, or lack thereof. At least while it's been a long-standing issue, long before I24 News was even an idea. Talk about how it's changed, I suppose, within the time frame or the lifetime of I24 News.
I think maybe the question is how it hasn't changed. The one thing that has stayed constant is that you have a U.S. administration, like always, that's looking to make peace. I mean, whether it's Jimmy Carter or George W. Bush or today President Trump, everybody has made that their goal. But how they go about it is very different. The context could not be more different. I mean, in the last administration, when we started out during the Obama administration, you had a frosty relationship at best between the U.S. and Israel. Those leaders did not get along very well. You had the Israeli government saying, understatement of the century. You had those leaders saying, you had Israelis saying that the U.S. administration is warming up to the Palestinians. Fast forward to where we are today, you have really the exact opposite. You have the U.S. and Israel in what might be their closest relationship ever, with the Palestinians boycotting the White House over their decision to move
But does
Jerusalem.
the debate ever change? We always have such heated debates here in studio between right and left, between Israelis and Palestinians and our Arab factions around the world. The debate still stays the same, despite the administration.
But you know what, Tracy? This is perhaps a place where I feel that we can definitely tap on our shoulders, and we're doing it well because we are following closely the process, not just the end result, not just why a certain bill was passed in the Israeli parliament, but what does it mean? Same in the Palestinian side. You know, why isn't there unity between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority? Not just the end result of it. And this is a unique thing that people need to understand about the Middle East.
Well, it's certainly been a journey. It's certainly been a ride, and now we look forward to the next 5 years. Right, Nurit, Jonathan, Ellie, here's to the next 5 years.